All right, gentlemen. Appreciate you guys all being here. Before we dive into the call, I want to make a big announcement and give a big warm welcome to Mr. Jacob Martin. First day, first group call as a community manager here for DK. So let's give him a warm welcome. Jacob, we appreciate you being here, brother.
Glad to be here, guys. Glad to rub shoulders with other kings, get to know you all. Let's crush it together.
Hell yeah. Hell yes, gentlemen. We have a very, very great topic today, and it was a journal prompt. So if you did not come prepared, that is okay. Go grab a notebook, grab pen, paper, something to write with, and you can write this out as we start this discussion because we want to make sure you guys are actually deeply thinking about this as we go into it. And the topic on mine today, last time we were in here, we discussed ways we're going to invest in ourselves in 2023. Today, let's talk about areas in your life that you've been complacent. I think this is a very, very good follow-up topic because when you look at areas you've been complacent, those are big areas that you'll be able to invest in yourself for 2023. So, Jack, Gabe, fire us off.
All right, I'll share. So, one area I've definitely been complacent with is basically my home design, furniture, all that stuff. I need to upgrade my office. Today, I just bought a new comforter. All right, so this is like top of mind for me. All right, I need to upgrade this place because everywhere I look, I want it to be a stimulus in my environment that tells me you're in the best place. You're here for a massive mission, and we have work to do. Like I don't want to live in a dump. I don't want to live in somewhere that's dirty, unorganized, all that stuff. So that's what I want to upgrade. That's something I've been complacent with.
Oh, I second that for you, Mr. Bly.
Thank God.
Oh, man.
Oh, my God.
It's not that bad.
This man invited us over for a movie night, and he plugs his laptop into the freaking TV. I'm like, what are we doing?
It's innovative.
All right, bro. Dude,
Man, we got to fill in that office, man. I've been looking at that bookshelf for a year now on these Zoom calls, man. Jeez. Yeah, that's very, very good. Jack, I'm curious. I want you to expand a little bit more. I know you kind of gave the brief synopsis, environment, everything, but I want you to expand a little bit more. Like, what made you come to that conclusion, and what do you think the biggest benefits you'll get from it are?
I'm not exactly sure what made me come to the conclusion. It's been a long time coming. But the benefits are going to be outlandish because I work from home. I spend a lot of time here. So, your environment is so important because everything that you look at, everything that you smell, everything that you touch is a stimulus to your brain, and it sends messages. Your brain makes associations with every stimulus that it comes into contact with. If I see this cup, I make associations to the cup of things it reminds me of. It can be good or it can be bad. So if you have a crappy environment, crappy furniture, all this stuff, it's going to give your brain bad associations of stuff that's going to drag you down, lower your energy. All right, there's a lot of science behind, a lot of psychology. We don't have to get deep into that, but that's the gist of it. That's what's taking place 24/7, 365, every moment of your existence.
Boom. Yeah, that's great. That makes a ton of sense. And I want to throw it to you guys now as well. Does anybody relate to this? Does anybody feel like this is an area that they've maybe been complacent with in their life?
Yeah, I've been sleeping with like one blanket that barely keeps me warm at night for the past 2 weeks, and I've just been too lazy to go out and buy another effing quilt or something. That I don't know why I haven't done it, but yeah, I relate with that.
I hear you. Yeah, it's things like we don't we as men, like we don't need much to survive. Like really, like we live in like a box. We're cool. But it does send a message to you internally. It doesn't seem like that big. You push it off always one more day, one more week, one more month, one more year, and you'll be completely fine. You'll be able to survive. But the message that it tells yourself, tells your brain, the energy that you receive from a crappy environment is going to drain you. It's going to drag you down. And I would put it on your power list. You have to make it an actual task and that you must do, or else you're never going to do it. You're going to keep on pushing it off.
Yeah. All right, man. Write it down.
Sultan's comment in the chat has me laughing. I'm using an ironing board as an adjustable standing desk. Could probably use an upgrade there. Yes. Yeah, I can totally relate to this because when I first moved into my apartment, I took on that like I don't know, macho mindset of like, oh, I don't need anything in here. Give me these white walls, one couch, one desk, one chair. I'll be fine. And after a few months of that, I was quickly over it. And now the joke is that my apartment has turned into a fake plant jungle. That is the joke among us, right? But it is definitely something that I got complacent with myself and recently invested in as well. Who else finds themselves in something similar here?
Are we still just talking the environment topic, Joey?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely relate to that. I mean, I just moved to Texas from Utah, and it's just we bought a house, and it's just been insane, and there's junk everywhere, and I have my own office now, which is awesome. There's just so much crap in it, and like I don't know, everyone's mom, grandma always tells you like cleanliness is next to godliness, right? And it's like so real. Like I've been trying to work from home and I have all this junk behind me and I'm having to use virtual backgrounds because it looks like a pig's pen, right? And I finally just took like 3 hours this past weekend and cleaned it all up. And I had such a productive weekend because I wasn't self-conscious about the garbage in my office, right? Like I was able to knock out a bunch of stuff, plan out my whole week, last night. And so I mean, it's true. Like you're a product of your environment, right? And even comes down to minute things like boxes or trash or even leveling it up, right? I love Sultan's ingenuity, right? Like way to get it done, way to get some standing minutes during the day with the ironing board. That's freaking gritty, man. But no, I totally agree with like Jack and what everyone else has said. Like if you want to like improve your productivity or your mood, like look at your environment first, right? And make changes there.
Yes. I love this. I feel like, Joe, I know the goal here was to get into some things where we've been complacent in, but I feel like this is just something we all do and all know this at some point. So I do have another take on this to support the idea. I've always been pretty good environment wise. I realized that at a young age, it was natural for me try to optimize my environment. Cause if I worked in a shitty place, I just didn't like it. It just didn't feel good. But one experience I had that really solidified this idea for me was when I went on a little vacation to Savannah with the fiance. And in Savannah, Georgia, I'm going to look this up right now. Savannah Cathedral. There is one of the largest cathedrals in the U.S., probably in the world. It's the Cathedral of St. John the Baptist. Right. This is like not just a Catholic church. This is a cathedral that's like recognized like by the Catholic Church. Right. I'm a Protestant Christian. I never really spent much time in like really grand cathedrals or churches or anything like that. It's always usually pretty basic stuff. But I walked into this cathedral and I'm just like blown away by the artwork, blown away by the attention to detail, just like almost in tears walking through this thing. Like, oh my gosh, like this is legitimately the most beautiful, most pristine, most detailed physical structure I've ever witnessed in my life. And I just felt so grateful, so much gratitude. I felt like I understood like the weight of God being in this environment. I was like, wow, like, whoa, God is so cool. Like God is so good and so organized and so big. But I left that cathedral just like, oh, I get it. I get why Catholic churches are designed that way. I get why cathedrals are designed that way, because every single stimulus in the cathedral, just the smells, everything you look at is grand. Everything you look at is great. Everything you look at is beautiful. And so that's how you feel when you're in there. Right. So not that you have to turn your office, into a cathedral, right? Not that you got to have, paintings of Saint Mary behind the Zoom background or anything like that. But it's definitely true that your environment instantly affects the way you feel. Your inputs are everything, and it's something that subconsciously influences what you do. So 100% second all of the lessons we've been talking about here today.
Very good. Very good. I think everybody here is on the same page with this. Does anybody else have something that they'd like to share in relation to this, or things that they're doing to invest in their environment, improve their environment going forward?
Mine's been definitely just to have less, Vinny was alluding to this one call, he's trying to get more basic clothes, and because the less you have, the the more you have time to think about other more productive, high ROI things, as opposed to like, what am I going to wear today? You know, just as one example. And so, you know, I've talked about it on past calls too, but like having less just frees me up more. You know, one thing I've kind of been writing on is stuff is dead weight, you know, and at least like collectible stuff for me, it's very much been that, you know. And so when it comes to environment, like 100%, I used to have a whole ton of like video game posters and other like hobby nerd stuff, not nerd, geek stuff, up hanging on the wall. It's all gone. My environment feels so much more productive, you know, now,
Yeah.
you know. So yep.
Nice.
When did you first start to get any inclination of that, Daniel? Is that something that recently popped into your mind, or is that something that's kind of been building up for some time?
It's definitely been a snowball for years. You know, I heard a long time ago that, you know, the first things that you kind of that are like within your eye vision are going to be the things that you think about. You know, if I wasn't told it, I learned it really quickly. You know, so you know, when I had a whole ton of video game posters up, guess what? I always thought about video games. When I had Funkos, I always thought about whatever the Funko was, you know? So it's like, now I do have a couple, like 2 Funkos over there, but those are the ones that were like gifts and they're special. So like, I don't think about what it represents. I don't think about like the culture I kind of represents. I think about how my mom put some time, thought, and effort into going, hey, my son would really like this.
Yeah.
So that's what I think about when I see that stuff. So, but yeah, so it's been impressed on me for a while. It's been sitting on my brain for a long time. And this is the first time I would say like this year is when I've really started to take some initiative to make some changes on that.
That's awesome. That's fantastic, brother. And I think what you're saying there holds true to a lot of the principles that we talk about at the top of the funnel when it comes to default actions, right? It's inputs. Thing in your environment is an input. It's influencing your subconscious beliefs, your self-identities, thoughts that you have throughout the day. And the fact that you're bringing this up is awesome because you're speaking directly to that. When I had Funkos, that's what I thought about. When I had comics, that's what I thought about. It is influencing your subconscious beliefs and the thoughts that you had. So this is why this environment stuff is important because it trickles down the line.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. Gabe, I want to open it up to you, brother. What are some areas in your life that you feel like you've been complacent?
Area in my life that I feel like I've been complacent in is my goals. So I know you guys were part of some very life-changing conversations along with me over this past week and a few days, where our eyes were really open to us by some of our mentors that we were looking at ourselves in way too low of a light, looking at what we're capable of and what we're called to do in way too low of a light. And I think that one of the reasons that I was being complacent in my goals is because, and this is something I do find myself doing sometimes in other areas of life, is I compare myself to others in a similar age group, right? Or in a similar position, right? Compared to all other 23-year-olds, I'm killing it, right? I am good. I got this business that's running. I'm helping all these people, right? I'm about to get married. And so I found myself when I make that comparison, it's super easy to be like, I'm doing great. Just keep showing up and keep getting better. And you're going to be the best there ever was. But I want to be more challenging myself. I want goals that legitimately scare me. And so I kind of have this rule now where if I set a goal and I think about that goal and there's not some form of nervousness, there's not some physical reaction, some discomfort when I talk about that goal, it's not big enough, right? That's kind of my check for myself if that goal is big enough. Right. So complacency has been on the goal setting. I want to set goals that are way higher, that are way scarier, that are way bigger, and ultimately just more in line with what I'm capable of.
That's good.
Gabe, I want to add to that actually, because I'm sorry, Joey, but I just gotta, because I was just writing this down.
Go ahead.
One question that was posed to me a while back was, you know, when people go on mission trips, or like when people are missionaries, right? You know, they're 100% relying on an act of God to follow them, and you know, God's presence to be with them wherever they go. So one question I wrote down was like, as I'm kind of trying to explore, like, what have I been complacent on? I wrote down a few things, so I wasn't sure like what the top thing was. And so not being complacent requires taking a jump, right? So The question I wrote was, which one of these jumps requires you to lean on God most?
Yes.
You know?
Mhm.
And so that's what I've been thinking about.
Right. I love that. That's actually a question that literally one of our mentors posed to us, which is so cool, and how you pose that as well, where he said, like, your dream has to be so big that it's a dream that you can only accomplish with God. Like, if you could do it on your own, if you can rationally figure out how Gabe Plugas can accomplish XYZ, it's not big enough. It has to seem like a pipe dream. It has to seem unrealistic. It has to seem like God, an act of God, is the only way that this works. Right. So beautiful idea. That's exactly the mindset that I'm taking in.
And for you guys to get more understanding on what this situation was, is when we were in Destin on a retreat with one of our mentors, and we actually got called out because I made the statement in the big group that I was like, we don't have limiting beliefs or limiting goals or anything, because like we think anything's possible. And one of our mentors goes, that's a limiting belief. You think you can do anything yourselves. You can rationalize your way to it. And I go, oh, okay. Thought about it. And guess what? He was right. And the next day we had a very long conversation on a 6-hour drive home, and we set out goals that, quite frankly, I don't know about you, Jack and Gabe, scare the shit out of me.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And there, in that moment, 12 hours after we got called out, I had goals that scared me shitless. And so he was right.
Yep.
Right. So that's awesome, Gabe. I'm glad you brought that up, man.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
It's fantastic. Who else is setting goals now going forward that scare them? After hearing that, what is coming to mind for you guys?
I'll go ahead and go. For me, it's going to be teaching piano. I've been told for years and years and years, ever since I was probably like 15 or 16. Oh, you should teach piano. It's just like, oh, I don't know enough. I'm just not I'm not informed enough. And it's like, to heck with that. I am, I definitely know enough. I'm just been making myself excuses because I'm scared. I'm too scared to do it. And I think about all these variables of like, oh, maybe I would have to open up my home. Maybe I have to go to other people's homes. Which one's more scary? I don't know. And it's like, but the whole idea in and of itself is like, I don't know, I've just been kind of unconfident when it comes to how my teaching methods would be effective. I've taught friends like lightly, on the side, not for any sort of like paying thing or anything at all. But like, as soon as the thought of teaching piano crossed my mind, I felt like the Holy Spirit was going, yes, that's it. Write it down. That's the one. And so, and that in turn is just going to like completely tenfold increase my relationship with God, because I'd be relying on him so much,
Yes.
God,
yes.
Please speak through me as I speak to this 6-year-old,
Yes.
or to this 45-year-old, whoever it may be. And so it would just be like, oh, it's terrifying to me. Such a little thing, but yeah, that's mine.
That's very good, brother. That's very good. I appreciate you sharing that, man.
Love it. What other areas of life do we have in the group where we may have find ourselves being complacent? It could be anything, right? We talked goals, we talked environment optimization. What else comes up?
Jump in. I'll say my career overall. I've been thinking about that a lot lately. Just I've been
really?
with the yeah, but we've been with the same company literally since the day I graduated college. So graduated Sunday night, started with them Monday morning, and now it's whatever 18 years later. And 6 months into my job with them, I was like, oh, there's no chance I could stay here much longer. So I started looking for something else, and now it's like 18 years later. I've been really successful and moved up in the ranks, and I'm happy with the position I'm in. But also, I'm thinking, is this what I'm going to be doing like 10 years from now? So that's been something. I don't have any decisions or any real thoughts on kind of what the next step would be, but that's just been going through my head the past probably 2 months or so, or even longer than that. I'd say probably for the last year, kind of in the back of my mind.
Drew, let me ask you, was there something specific, some sort of event or something that kind of spurred that thought pattern for you?
Yeah, you'll make me get into it here. So that's my dad passed away last February. So just a year ago, actually, like last week. So that really hit it because he was the type, he owned his own business. So he was working, 10, 12 hours a day. He had an auto shop. So my brother and I kind of run that. Me from here in Arizona, even though it's back in Illinois, I do all like the books and stuff. And my brother does a lot of the operations part time back there, along with the guys that work for us, of course. So he was doing, 10, 12 hours a day for 15, 20 years, whatever it may be, died suddenly at 64. So it's like, didn't even he had these big plans for retirement and then, never got there. So, that's been kind of making me think is like going through my family tree. There's like not one male in my family that's lived past 64 now, or 65 is actually my grandpa. So that's kind of terrifying that it's like, I can't wait until retirement, whatever that age is going to be, to kind of make that move or do what I want to do. I have to, plan ahead for that.
Dude, I appreciate you sharing that. I know that's not easy to talk about.
Yeah.
Appreciate you stepping up and acknowledging the situation as well, because most people aren't willing to do even that, let alone share the sequence of events that led you there.
Yeah, it makes you think like it's not that important. Like some of the stuff I'm doing at work, it's like, like I call myself, I'm usually very patient and very easy to get along with at work. I caught myself with a real short fuse for a good 3-4 months after that because it's like, this is not important. Why are you bothering me with this right now? So it took a while to kind of get back my patience, but because I deal with a lot of different types of people, I'll say. So that's been kind of the thing going through me.
Yeah, a mental frame I've been using a lot recently, this might help you, is I envision myself, I zoom all the way into the future, I flash forward, and I'm old, I'm on my deathbed, and I think of the situation I'm faced with. I think of what would I regret more? Maybe for you, is it, getting a new job, working even harder, getting a higher position at your current company, whatever it may be. Think of like, what are you actually going to regret? Sometimes we make things like so much of a big deal. It's like really not, like nothing bad's going to happen. Like what's the worst that's going to happen if you go search for a new job, you get interviewed, you find a job, you take it. Like you're going to keep on doing you. You're going to keep on living. And like, who's that man on his deathbed? Like, what's he going to regret at the end of the day? That's a frame I've been using a lot lately, and I wanted to share that with you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that because I thought about that. And it's like, the career side has always been kind of number one in my head. Like, okay, how am I gonna, get to that next level or make that, get that next raise, whatever it may be, promotion. But it's like, it's not important. Yeah, it's good. It's good to be comfortable. It's good to, be able to, do what I want to do and be flexible. And yeah, I've been working from home for whatever 15 years. So it's, it's good to have that flexibility, but also it's at the end of the day, that's not going to be what I'm thinking about, like you said, on my deathbed. So
this someone named Alex Hormozy, who's a massive entrepreneur, massive mentor in the field of entrepreneurship, who we've learned a lot from. He says this really interesting fact about how when they ask people on their deathbeds, people who are dying, what they regret, it's almost always something that dying person didn't do, and almost never something that dying person did. People don't tend to regret their mistakes. They tend to regret their inaction. Right. And so I think that gives me even more hope when I'm thinking about goals. And that might give you even more hope when you're thinking about goals, because it gives you the grace to make mistakes. It gives you the grace to stumble. It gives you the grace to not know what you're doing and, have some struggles because of it.
Yeah.
Right. But it also lets you know that when you get to the end of the road, you're not going to be pissed about, oh man, that one time where I tried to get a new job and I tried to level up and try to do something on my own, and it was kind of hard for a bit. Right. You're going to be proud that you took that leap versus I should have done that. I should have taken that leap.
Yeah. Good point.
100%. One of the most haunting thoughts is what if? What if I did that? What would happen?
Yeah, in a really,
Wow.
really cush position right now. So it's like, yeah, do I really start that process over, or do I do something on my own, whatever it may be? But yeah, that's scary.
Yeah.
And
Sounds
Drew,
like a dream you need God to accomplish, something you need your faith to even survive getting through.
Sure.
Drew, and I'll share something with you that's been beneficial for me as well. And it's this idea that worst case scenario, I fail. That's worst case. And if that happens, I learned a massive lesson that I can now apply as I solve the new problem that's in front of me. That's worst case.
Yep.
Right. And that's helped me a ton when it comes to making big decisions or making hires or making big movements, things like that. Worst case, I fail. All right. A lot of people, there's this discussion on what are you more afraid of? Like, do you hate losing more or love winning more? And I've always said I just love winning more, because failure, losses, like that stuff's going to happen. So when you give yourself that grace to allow it to happen, you're going to watch yourself move a lot further, and situations like this aren't going to seem so scary anymore. Yeah. So that's something I want to share with you as well, brother.
Yep. Appreciate that.
I mean, let's go to the chat. I know we've had some great conversations in the chat here, but let's go through it. Jacob, you want to kind of give us a little synopsis here on what's going on in the chat?
Yeah, no, I was going to raise my hand anyways. I just want to shout out Mike, like, for just being super vulnerable in the chat and talking about things he's doing to improve his relationship with his daughters. Said he's feeling a little complacent, and so he's been making daily efforts to like have an interaction with them, whether it's a phone call or a text. And he has 3 daughters at college, and I was just telling him, like, I went to college out of state and stuff, and it was a big change for me. And just my dad would do the same thing. He would text me or call me weekly at a minimum, and it was just so impactful for me because I knew he was there for me, right? And I think all of us in this situation, Mike's in, probably thinks, oh, they're too busy, they don't want to talk to me, I got too much going on, right? It's so easy to let those like inner fears take over. And so I just, shout out to Mike for making the effort and defeating that complacency and, investing those relationships, right? Because I think like it's the opposite, Mike. Like they need you now more than ever, right? They need to know you're there. Like college is just so frustrating. There's so many things going on, and they need to know that dad has their back, right? And so I just think it's awesome that you're taking action and trying to like, destroy that complacency in your life.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Mike, thank you for sharing, brother.
And same goes for everyone. Like, guys, like if you don't want to come off mic, like obviously come off mic and share what's going on. But like, if you don't want to, just get in the chat, right? We're going to see it. We'll talk about it. Like it's just as good. So
yeah, it's very, very good.
Mike, you're a legend, man. You impress me every single week, man.
I appreciate that. Hey, one quick thing that I wanted to share that I think is pretty awesome. So my grandmother, who died when I was, probably 12, her last words were so meaningful. We put them on her tombstone, and her last words were, "I've enjoyed it." And when I think about the hardship that she went through, her mother died in childbirth when she was 4. She raised her younger siblings, grew up living in an old boxcar off the side of a railroad spur, went back to finish high school at age 24, and lived a pretty tough life. But just to have that resilience to look back at all that she'd been through and say, I've enjoyed it. I hope I can say the same thing at the end of life. That's always been meaningful to me.
Wow. I know something for a fact. I know you're not going to be there at the end of life thinking, wish I put more effort into my relationship with my daughters. You're not going to be thinking that, because you're taking the action right now. It's on your power 5, right? It's on your power list.
Yep.
When you said that, I don't know why my mind flashes through, and I'm just like, man, I bet if we were to ask most other dads who have college-age daughters or college-age children, how many of those dads make it a priority, a must-do to contact their kids? Very few, right? Only the elite, only the legends like Mike Stanger, which is why I said that. So the fact that you're doing that, man, just as a young man, I can tell you right now, the effort that you're putting in and prioritizing connecting with them is going to be something that they are so thankful for. You can't even you can't even grasp the gravity of how thankful they're going to be for you doing that.
100%.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
This is fantastic. Who else would like to share? It sounds like the topic that we've kind of transitioned into here a little bit is relationships. Does anybody feel like that is an area of their life that they've been complacent with? I'll start. I feel like I have been. I was talking to Jack and Gabe about this a few weeks ago. The last two and a half years of my life has been so focused on business and getting set up for success career-wise and moving forward and building this big, massive thing that we're building that's impacting millions of lives. But in the meantime, I noticed that my interpersonal relationships outside of the business world have somewhat taken a back seat. And I've been conscious of that recently. So that's one for me that was on my list for today to share with you guys, is that my personal relationships and friendships are something that I'm doing a concerted effort to get back into nourishing. Right? I actually wrote out a list of people. My nurture list is what I called it. Funny enough. People that I just want to regularly contact and keep up with and make a concerted effort to go out of my way to take time to contact them and pour into them regularly. So that's one for me. So I'm glad we've kind of rolled into this conversation. Who else has felt like that's an area of life that they've gotten complacent with?
I can go. I'll say definitely for me, I've kind of the same way, put it in the back seat, focused on, career. I've had a lot more opportunity than the rest of my family there. So I felt this pressure to kind of always be putting that first. And I have a brother who's in high school, and I was thinking about this the other day, but we don't really talk that much besides, if I'm on the phone with my mom and she puts him on or something. So I think being able to build that relationship with him is important. Being that he's my only brother, and then he's also they live in Argentina, and it's just him and my parents, and we have no other family there. So he's also doesn't have other family. So I think that's something that I've been reflecting on, I wish I would have had a bigger brother there to, help me through a lot of things, and how can I be that for him?
I mean, I have a similar situation. My parents got divorced when I was 18 or 19, 18, I believe. And when my mom got remarried, my stepbrother is 16 years old. And I was in a similar situation where growing up, I always wished I had a big brother. And then I got a little brother. Right. So I find myself in a similar situation where I want to pour into him and be there for him. Because I wish I had that growing up. I wish I had that big brother showing me these things. So now I make a concerted effort to take every opportunity to pour into him that I can. Because I know how powerful that relationship is going to be for him later down the line. I know I can teach him things and show him things and get him a head start that I wish I would have had. So I can totally relate to the situation that you're in.
Yeah, thanks. I think like one thing I kept telling myself was like, oh, I'll eventually, I'll start to build that relationship, and what better than the now, instead of just keep putting it off, and because that's not how it's gonna happen.
Yeah. Wow. You know what's oh man, this is hitting so close to home, boys. Just the brotherly love. I have two brothers, Gyro. One of them is older, one of them's younger, 16 years old. So man, we're like all in the same boat here.
Yeah.
And I've been pretty intentional about building that relationship with him over the last few years. We have a pretty good relationship.
Yeah, we pick on him all the time, man.
Yeah, we're constantly making fun of him, constantly challenging him. But there's this one moment where I think it was like New Year's Eve or something, or maybe it was just like a game night. We were all just hanging out where we were playing some game that basically, if you drew a card, it was going to ask you a question about like the other person, right? It was like a relationship building game. I can't remember what it was called. But my little brother draws a question, and the question is something like, what's something about the person to your right, who was me, that you just can't believe, right? Something about the person that you're right that you just can't believe, something along those lines. And I, leaned in because I was really interested to hear what he was going to say about me. But his answer was what gave me the foundation to continue fostering our relationship, because I finally was able to hear from his mouth what built our relationship. And what he said was, I can't believe I have a big brother who wants me to succeed so bad. Right? I can't believe I have a big brother who wants me to succeed so bad. And that is what gave the answer to me for, oh, that's how you be a good big brother. That's what they care about. That's what they want to take away. Right. And that's something that it's so simple to do. It's so easy to do. You don't have to be there with him in Argentina, like, helping him take care of his homework or like showing him the workouts in the gym, whatever it is. Right. But if you just show him that you want him to win, if you're almost like his biggest cheerleader, like his biggest encourager, me being a little brother and a big brother, I can vouch that, man, when I know my big brother wants me to win, we feel so connected, right? When I show my little brother that I want him to win, we feel so connected. So doing that in every way I can fosters our relationship. And my big brother does this really well too. He's a gun expert. Okay, my big brother. And anytime we're talking about guns, anytime we're at the shooting range, he is just like going all in on all these things I can do better, all these things, these parts I could buy for my gun. I told him when I was about 18, 19, I was buying my first gun. And I just told him, and, average brother, average person should be like, oh, cool, dude, check this out, right? He was like, oh, dude, I'm going to come down. I'm going to help you build this thing. I'm going to source all the parts. I'm going to make sure you got all the best stuff. He just wanted me to win. He just wanted me to win, right? So showing your little brother that, showing them that you care about what he's doing, showing them that you care about whatever his goals are, showing them that you want him to win is going to make him think like, man, I can't believe I have this person in my life. I can't believe I have this supporter in my life.
That's awesome. It's like when we're beating on Angel at jiu-jitsu, man, and just talking crap the whole time.
Yep.
He's just getting beat up by grown men. We just want him to win. That's all.
Just want him to win, man. Yeah. But dude, that's awesome. Please keep us updated on how y'all's relationship progresses, because that's something we care about so much, man. We love that.
Yeah, will do. I appreciate the advice.
You're a beast, man. Thank you.
I know we're getting close to time here, gentlemen, but who else has something they'd like to share to kind of wrap this up? Things that they're working on, areas of their life that they feel like they may have been complacent in.
I'll go next. So you guys know I've been kind of complacent in doing stand-up lately since I stopped drinking again. I relied on alcohol to ignore the negative social cues and be able to get up there. Lately I've also been telling myself, well, it's fine because I do improv throughout the week, taking an acting class, but it's not the same as doing stand-up. But I was just at the comedy club this weekend. Girl came up to me. She asked if I was opening for the guy. I said, no, I'm not. I'm not that well known yet. She asked me why I hadn't been back in a while. I was kind of honest with her. I just told her I was taking a break from drinking and trying to cut down on the weight. But she said she wanted to see me back there. So felt good, man. So trying to figure out how to get back in there without the booze. So it's a real shitty mental block in my head right now.
Yeah. Tom, what does the conversation look like where you want to do stand up again? Like what do you say to yourself?
Well, I know I love making people laugh. I love owning the laughs when I'm up there, knowing that they're all mine.
Mm.
What is the conversation with myself like? The negatives would be, I'll remember a moment where it was just flat, didn't get any laugh. And even if the rest of the time I was doing well, it's that moment will stick with me.
Mhm. Yeah, makes sense. One thing I would challenge you to do is, trying to grow on social media. This is one of the mindsets I've had to take on in order to grow. Is like when something doesn't perform well, it's not a bad thing. It's actually, I look at it as almost a good thing. All right, I put in a lot of work to produce this video or this piece of content, and no one likes it. In fact, some people might even hate it. But I gain a piece of wisdom. I gain market feedback. As a comedian, you can look at that and say, okay, this joke really landed when I did this. This joke didn't land too much. All right, let me take that as feedback. Let me grow as a comedian. It's not a bad thing at all. It's not. The best comedians of all time, I can guarantee you they've had those moments. They've learned from them. They don't get down on them because it's not a bad thing. It's simply an opportunity for growth, for feedback. So that's how I would try and view that.
I got you, man. Yeah, sometimes I do look at it that way, but sometimes the negativity really gets rolling.
Yeah. Another strategy that you could use as you get yourself back into it is to lean on your A game. Right? Lean on your A game. This is a mindset across athletics that all coaches will use to get people out of slumps. Right? Lean on your A game. Don't do anything fancy. Maybe as you're getting back into things, of course, you need to take those risks to get better. Right? You need to take those risks to get the feedback. But as you're getting that back into it, maybe you just need to see the ball go in the hoop, right? Maybe you just need to get a few laughs, right? Maybe you need to lean on your A game so you can build more confidence. And all of a sudden now you have this foundation of confidence that can hold you up for when that, flat moment does come. But you would have racked up so many freaking laughs that you don't even care. You can just brush it off. Right.
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
Put
out the things that you're certain in.
What's up?
Put out the things that you're certain in, that without a doubt, man, these are my best jokes. These are going to get the laughs. These are funny. Even if people don't like it, these are funny. These people are stupid, right? Lean on those jokes, maybe as you're getting back into them.
I got you. Appreciate it.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. Last frame I'll remind you of is what we talked about before. The what if, the regret on your deathbed. You're not going to regret going back into stand-up. You're not going to regret it. There's no chance. You could regret not doing it. Hanging up the jersey forever, never going back. So I would think about that.
Yep.
Appreciate you.
100%, brother. All right, gentlemen. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to share before we wrap it up for the night?
Yo, can you hear me?
Jack, what's up, man?
What's going on? I wanted to add something to that as well. I think comic I was listening to recently, Jimmy Carr, he had the same philosophy where he just said some of these jokes tonight might be unique. The only problem with them is that they're the bad jokes. So you can even frame it that way, that they get a unique opportunity to witness your growth as well. So very interesting way to think about it.
That's very good. Thank you, Jack. That's very good, man.
I also wanted to add the goal thing. It's one of the things that I getting complacent with is just running. So I've done the weightlifting, I've done the walking, but I have this stretch goal of running a marathon, and haven't really been making any progress towards that. But one thing that use this frame of reference doesn't scare you is that I was listening to Gabe talk about one of his, I think it's he's cut up with Gabe, when you went with Jeremy Newsom, and then you had that 5 mile walk. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but you turned it into like a run.
Yes.
You ended up just running up hills with people and you get back. The fact that like that might happen kind of scares me right now. The fact that Gabe might just jump on my back and the retreat, telling me to run up the hill. That really and then so recently I got on a call with Chris, my coach, on my as well.
Yes. Cut out a little bit at the end there, but what I heard was you've got this massive stretch goal of running a marathon, right? And you hadn't been making the progress you wanted to towards that goal. And you're even thinking about how at this upcoming retreat, you might be put in a situation where we're going to do some running, where you might have to carry me on your back. Man, wish you didn't spoil it, but that's a very, very powerful tool to motivate you towards a longer term goal that might be less tangible, right? Is think about why it might be important for you to make progress in the short term, right? Because yes, you need to start running if you want to run a marathon, but that could be far out, right? That can be some time away. You might be more motivated to start running in the short term for this retreat where we'll definitely be doing some hard things together, right? That short term might be enough of a motivation to get the momentum started. Right? I love that, dude. Really good leveraging that short-term goal, that short-term moment to push you towards a longer term goal.
Agreed. This is awesome. Gentlemen, we appreciate you guys being here. I think that is a good spot to wrap this up. Jack, Gabe, Jacob, you guys have anything else that you'd like to add? All right, gents. We appreciate you guys being here as always. And of course, feel free to continue this conversation inside of the chat. Not everybody can make these calls. Not everybody can watch the recordings. So please continue this inside of Slack. It allows the other guys to be a part of this conversation, well, albeit not live, still in some capacity. So any questions, any feedback that you guys would like to drop in after this call, feel free to do so. We appreciate you all being here. Hope you guys have an amazing night. Love y'all.
Thanks, guys.